what's in here. We have a light for the oral periph, pen for taking notes. We have stickers if you need them for motivation. We put in tongue blades. We have a timer initially you might want to use this just to keep on track for that 5 or 10 minutes, not to go over 10 minutes for sure, but then you'll get the feel of it after a while, and the kids will, you'll know when the time's up. A mirror, we have toupets, and we have gloves, all included. The only thing that's not in here is either some tape or a staple, whatever you use to put the paper in the child's notebook. So that's the only thing that's really you'd want to add to there, but unless there's anything else that you really like to use in a therapy. Also, we have in the back this oral periph sheet. This is a great sheet because the child can look at themselves, and you can go around and do, you know, pick out the ones you think are relevant to that specific child and do it, you know, 2 to 5 times, 10 times. Initially, if you have someone that has more oral motor issues, you would probably want to spend more time on this and doing each one more than just 1 or 2 times. But every child, just to get them started a little bit with the oral periph area, you know,
they're articulators.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And on page 8 in the manual, it gives you just there's a little chart in there that gives you the outline of what a typical session would consist of. So when they come out, you can either be at the back of the room if it's a quiet activity, or just outside the door. Take a chair into the hallway, and you'll know if it's a quiet hallway during that period of time. Sometimes I've gone 2 doors down where it's an empty classroom. Instead of going all the way back down the hall, you can just go in and out. And they get very used to when one child goes back into the classroom, another child will come out. They get the routine very quickly. Or you can do 3 or 4 classrooms close by that way. So I like to sit and have them stand in front of me, because then you're really eye level with them. It makes it very easy to see what's going on and what they're doing. So you just real quickly, a minute, look at their homework. They have a list of words every night. They've added to that list. If you're at the beginning 6 stages, you'll just talk about their words. They might not repeat them later on when they have the sound intact, and you might have them tell you what the words are. And then you go to your auditory. So initially, at the very beginning, you might have this be a large part of your session. And as you work through, then you just spend a minute on the auditory descrim. And initially, you would just maybe do this section here, move over to this section depending on where you are. But as it gets further along, you might want to mix up the auditory descrim section. You might do one of these and over here, or 2 of these, and also to reverse them back and forth. Path, pass. The next one might be mass, math. You know, so you play with this. The biggest thing with the program is everything is here for you to complete it, but your therapeutic skills that you bring to the session are the most important part, because you're always shifting and changing. It's fast-paced therapy. You know exactly where that child is and what they're doing. And just as when you move on up into the drill sets, if you're doing the 1-word initial and you see that they're making progress, it's 100%, they're doing really well, last night just clicked in for them, you might want to shift down just in the very next line down to the phrases. But then maybe say, well, that was just a fluke, they're not doing so well here.
Go back.
You can just quickly just go back up. So that's really nice.
It's professional judgment.
Exactly.
Always. With every aspect you use it and you shift back and forth. This is a guideline, the manual, a very detailed guideline for those new people right out of school, but also some little reminders for us old-timers that have been doing it for a long time.
Well, I think this is great because you find when you do artic therapy that you like having all of those materials in front of you just makes it so much easier. You're not wasting your time.
Exactly. We recommend that you start off with a complete binder as far as your photocopies. Make sure you have everything with you. Make multiple copies of all the calendars, the letters, because as you're doing it, you'll be like, oh, you know, I should send this letter. You just pull it out. I also keep my therapy notes in there, in the same binder. I made a new section in the binder, and I just keep all of the information on the child. So I don't even have to carry a separate therapy
Right.
log. Everything is in here. I just take the binder with me to the classroom, do the session, and I'm all set. So,
and if you want to add something that you've been doing for years that you love, you can incorporate it. But it's designed so that these words will be keywords, and if they can produce these words correctly, then they will have it to generalize the sound into other words. So it's not like you need thousands of words. You just drill on these words, and once they have the movement and the oral motor memory, then they're ready to move on to the next phase.
and I think we have to stress a little bit of, again, of just spending that extra time at the beginning stages. I think for a lot of us it's very easy, you know, we tend to go a little bit too fast for the kids, and we progress through the stages when the initial stages still weren't quite right. And then the kids have difficulty generalizing, and that's when they have difficulty with carryover. We get, whoa, they say perfectly in the speech session, but then I hear them in the playground and they're still not saying it. What's happening? Go back to the initial stages, spend a little bit more time with that, work on automaticity, on really being able to play with the sound and having that control at the initial stages before progressing.
So you had said that in like mastery, you're considering 90%.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we'd love to see 100. I know sometimes that's not realistic. At least a 90% level should be achieved over 3 consecutive sessions. So we really want to see that consistent.
And then when when they're not looking, when they're not drilling, and you just look at them and you say, what was your favorite word from those 3 words? So now they're looking up, they're thinking, and although it's about this, it's in a different context. How did they do? Did they say that word correctly? If they didn't say it correctly, but they're doing 100% down here, they're still not ready. They don't have that connection. So they need more drill in this area. So those little techniques of let's stop and even for a second take it out of context. How did they do? Or if the word is gas, they just, who gets gas at your house? Does mommy fill up the tank or does daddy? And see if they can use that word thinking about their home, and does it come out gas correctly? You can turn the page, or you can cover this page and say, can you remember those 3 words real quickly? Can you say them like this? 1, 2, 3. It's fast, it's still drill, but just like for a few seconds at the end, how did they do? Out of context of this. And that gives little clues. Do they really have it, or they're just, it's right here. If it's right here, they're on their way. But now we're going to make that shift into different contexts. And since we're not going home with them, that's one way to do it.
If they're using it.
If it's set in there.
One thing you might want to do too is when you're integrating it for the first time in the school is to gather all the teachers that you're working with and maybe have a short meeting, either in a team meeting, introduce the program, show them the binder, explain the methodology and why it's effective. Sometimes teachers are just not used to the shift from traditional therapy to this new methodology, so it's, you're just going to see my child in 5 minutes? What's that? So
But when you explain to them, yes, it's going to be 10 minutes, but it's going to be 3 or 4 or 5 times a week. And there's no game playing. So we've eliminated the 15 minutes of game playing, and we're just drilling. And usually the teachers are very happy. They're not out of the classroom for an entire class lesson. And parents are more excited about it because you're giving a little bit every day. Traditional therapy's once a week for something like this. So everybody starts to see, oh, this is better. And then when they start to see the results, the child is much more aware of their sound continuously throughout the day. There's really some excitement going on with it. And the child gets really excited. They start seeing progress and movement. It's not just the continuous of being at the same place for months at a time.
I mean, it definitely is, the idea of 4 times a week is so much better than once a week, because you're not seeing a lot of carryover with those individual, once a week sessions.
Especially when they're in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, forget 5th and 6th grade, once a week. And those are the kids that have had therapy for the S sound for years. So we really promote getting them earlier, because if it is a developmental sound in kindergarten, those are the kids that are going to pick it up within a few weeks. They're in and out. You know, there was no chance that they were going to keep that sound until they were in 2nd, 3rd grade, mispronouncing it.
Right. Absolutely. Certainly when you implement the program also for the first time in the school, you're going to want to see your oldest students first, and then exit them, then take the next oldest, and then go down. Eventually what will happen is you'll have a caseload filled with just the younger children, kindergarten, 1st graders, and any new entrant that comes in, but we'll finish with the older kids and then trickle our way down. So also for any ESL children, sometimes homework is a problem at home. The parent doesn't understand the calendar or can't read it. If you just with a call, maybe with an interpreter, they can practice the sound in their native language as well. An S is an S in Spanish and English, and I'm sure many other languages as well. So they can,
work on it at home.
Work on it at home.
Their own language.
Exactly. As long as the focus is on that sound, listening to it, practicing, hearing it, everybody's involved in helping this child.
And with those children, a side benefit, strictly a side benefit, is vocabulary. We have a lot of great words in here that they might not be exposed to, and so they won't know them initially, but over time you're going to keep going over the same words. Those vocabulary, also we don't drill so much in syntax, but they'll start getting the sentence structures that we have here when we get to that stage.
The visuals are helpful too.
Absolutely.
Great.
Good.
Exciting.
Do you have any questions?
I'm trying to think if I have.
It is exciting.
It is.
That's one thing. It's especially if you've been doing therapy the traditional way for years and years.
Yeah.
It's this new way, and it's proven it works. You know, their school has been doing it now 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
And they did the pilot program down there at Marquette's, and so they took care of the 3rd graders, 2nd graders, and that's why they only have the kindergarten and 1st graders now. There is no one in the upper grades, and they're not moving on to the other school, the other elementary school, in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. With
see, that's very good. Like, because you find that you do, like, after the summer, you know, they come back and you go to rescreen them, and you're working on the same sound again. You know, and they're older. Those older students going to the new schools. To be working on those sounds again for like the 2nd year in a row, it is kind of hard for them to be pulled out of class for, you know.
They don't want to be. They're tired of therapy and the older kids, and so this is really taking care of business at a much earlier age. It's and the kids really like it. They just love that one-on-one time. It's just you and the shaping and the change and using the mirror. And if they're a little fidgety, you can touch them gently on the arm and it calms them down. And you know, all the issues you have in the groups that's non-productive. It's that's all eliminated by doing just the short one-on-one.
Something else we have in the program manual is a section on therapeutic techniques, which most of us know already, you know, but sometimes it's good to be reminded of just different ways to elicit a particular sound. So in the back we have a section called sound shaping and tricks of the trade. So we have, you know, different suggestions for assessment and auditory stim and oral motor exercises, therapy shaping for the particular sound that this binder is. So there's a lot of useful information.
Yeah, it's very thorough.
So hopefully you enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I definitely